So let me tell you a story of our time. It's a story called It Could Be Worse by Margot Tzemach, who adapted it from an old Yiddish Hasidic folk tale. And this is the way it goes. There once was this guy who lived in a very small village somewhere in Eastern Europe in a very small hut with his mother and his wife and his 6 children. They lived in a very small hut and were very poor. Life was difficult for them. It was crowded and the kids were noisy and they're running around and the mother annoyed him and his wife nagged him. He had enough. He decides to go to the rabbi. He goes to the rabbi and says, "Oy, Rabbi, I need some help. My wife and my mother and my children are driving me crazy. What can I do? My house is too small." The rabbi thinks for a moment and says, "Do you have some chickens?" And the guy says, "Yeah, I have a chicken and I have a rooster and I have a goose." Rabbi says, "Great. Take your chicken and your rooster and the goose and take them into the house and have them live with you for a few days and then come back." The guy looks at the rabbi. He says, "Seriously? Okay, well, fine. The rabbi says so. I will do." He goes and takes the chicken, takes the rooster, takes the goose, and they go home. Well, the chicken's clucking and the rooster cockle-doodle-doos and the goose is quack, 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 quack everywhere. And a week passes by and the man is going nuts. The house has gotten so much smaller. He runs to the rabbi at the end of a week. He says, "Rabbi, help me. I'm going crazy. The house is too small." The rabbi says, "Tell me, do you have a goat?" The guy says, "Yeah, I have a goat." "Great, take the goat into the house." Ugh, the rabbi, fine. He says that I have to do it. So the guy goes and he takes the goat, takes it into the living room, closes the door, and lives with the goat and the chicken and the rooster and the goose and the 6 children and the mother and the wife in the house for a whole week. He about goes insane. At the end of that week, he runs back to the rabbi and says, Rabbi, I can't take it anymore. The house is so small. I can't sleep. I can't do it." Rabbi says, "Tell me, do you have a cow?" And the guy says, "Uh-oh." He says, "Take the cow and take it into the house, and after a week, come back to me." So the guy goes, fine. He goes and he takes the cow, and with the cow and the goose and the chickens and the goat and the rooster, he lives for a week in the house. At the end of all that week of mooing and trampling and baying and quacking and cockle-doodle-dooing, he comes back to the rabbi, a broken man. He says, "Oh, I can't do it anymore. It's so crowded. What do I do, Rabbi?" And the rabbi says, "You know what? Now go home, take all your animals out into the field, and then come back to me." And the man says, "Oh," he goes home, he kicks out all the animals, they all clean up, and he spends a few days in the house. A few days later, he comes back to the rabbi. He says, "Rabbi, I am so happy. My mother makes the best chicken soup. My wife is a wonderful housekeeper. My children are so lovely. We are sleeping so peacefully. We have such calm in our house. I love it. My house is perfect. Thank you for helping me." So the question is, when we have no control whatsoever of the external forces that make our lives weird, what is it that we have control over? That's a big philosophical question. Because if you cannot change the outside, is there something that can change? Is there something that changed in this story? The way the man and his children and his family were living at the beginning of the story is exactly the same as they were living at the end of the story. So that did not change. What is it that changed in the story? Obviously, it was the man himself. It was his perspective of what was going on. The physical situation was exactly the same at the beginning and at the end. But the only thing he had control over was his perspective, the way he saw what he had. And boy, he was so grateful at the end of the story for what he had, didn't he? So I think about that in our situation today. We have no control. We put it this way, we have very little control about where the corona goes and what happens in the world right now. But we do have control on the way we look at it, of the things that we do, the changes that we go through inside. That is what we have control over, our perspective. Yeah. So by the way we change our perspective, we change the way we feel. The situation is the same, but we become so much more grateful for the things we have, for the 6 children, for the mother who makes the chicken soup, for the wife who, after all, is not the biggest nag, but she's a pretty good housewife or mom, whatever. Yep, that's my story for today. Have a great one, and think about your perspective. How do you see what's going on? And maybe there's a little bit of change that you can make in you.